Hey, what's up? This is Mosquito Spray, and you're tuned in to Mosquito Spray's Boxing Breakdown. Today we're gonna touch a little bit more on this subject, which I knew would be a touchy one, talking about the comparison of the career and the arc of Jaron Ennis to that of a young Adrien Broner. Now, thus far, Jaron Ennis has been operating at 147 pounds. He just recently announced he's moving up to 154. And of course, Adrien Broner, when he in his young days, functioned and reigned at 130 and 135, and then eventually moved up to 147 and then back down to 140, and he operated between those weight classes. And between 30 and 35, I'm sure most would agree Broner was dominant. The fights he had, the guys he was in against, he was, too strong, too powerful, and they couldn't really have an effect on them with their shots. Now, his offensive attack was brilliant, good variation of punches, the whole book, but he was lacking defensively. There were holes in this game, and specifically, the holes in this game were at distance, whether it's mid or long range. He would get in this wide, flat-footed stance, I guess, to land power shots and try to get in on his guys and get them out of there. But at the same time, what that did to him was, when they came in on him, switch speed to get in real quick, he would himself, because of his footwork, which at also times would get squared up, he would give himself no escape route from a lateral or angular standpoint. The only option for him to retreat backwards in a straight line. And of course, if you know boxing, this is something you don't want to have to do, especially not repeatedly. The other thing he would do was, on his way in, or if he was already in the pocket, he would get lazy at times with his defense, exposing his chin, not bringing his hands back after he throws shots, or raising the chin up in the air, taking his hands away from his face, to protect his body or whatever the case may be, which you do not do. You drop your elbows. But he would break the rules, and he got away with it against the smaller guys. But once he went up in weight, the mistakes were more pronounced. He paid real consequences. And fast forward to today, Jaron Ennis at 147 pounds. Everything I just named for Adrien Broner, same thing with Jaron Ennis. Now, is he going to be able to function and be successful at 54 and 60 if he chooses to go up there, or whatever the case may be? I don't know. But what I am saying is, there are holes. And fan or not, if you really like a fighter, if you really want to see a fighter be successful in the sport, then there are things that need to be fixed, because when you get up against guys who are on your level, that matters. Smallest of margins can separate things at the championship level. And we all know there are some tough guys waiting up at 54 on this young man. And he needs to tighten up. Now, as far as, this subject being a touchy one, because everyone has their fan bases and whatnot. I have fighters I like and all that kind of stuff, but more so, I love the sport of boxing, and I speak the truth about it, And I guess I might have rubbed a couple of people the wrong way, hit a couple of nerves with what I said in my last video last week about this subject. So what we're going to do is, what we do on the channel, we break it down. We're going to go a little more in depth, because at the end of the day, you can argue with a man, woman, or a child, but you can't argue with the eye in the sky. So what we have for you today is the film breakdown, and it won't lie to you. It will show you exactly what I just said. So, enough talking from me. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. Now, first up, we got Adrien Broner. A write-up on Broner is as follows. Broner makes several technical mistakes. Chief amongst them is his wide, flat-footed stance. When his opponent chooses to switch the tempo and step inside, due to Broner's flat and at times squared up footwork, he eliminates his own ability to escape laterally or at an angle. The only option for him is to attempt to escape backwards in a straight line, and most of the time this gets him clipped. The other is squaring up in the pocket, as well as not bringing his hands back to his chin after throwing shots. And of course, this gets him clipped as well. Under fair use laws, this video is for educational purposes only. Okay, so let's take a look at Broner's wide, flat-footed stance along with the squaring up of his footwork and how it gets him in trouble. So as the film showed, and these fights are in chronological order by the way, Broner was able to get away with the mistakes he was making with his footwork against Tonio DeMarco and Gavin Reese, but as you could see, once he stepped up in competition against some real punchers, Marcos Maidana, Mikey Garcia, and Manny Pacquiao, he paid a heavier price. Now we'll take a look at Broner's other issue, which is squaring up in the pocket, not bringing his hands back to his chin after he's throwing shots, and it'll be the same thing. You know, it'll progress chronologically. Let's get to it. Alright, so next up we got Mr. Jaron Ennis. And my write-up on Jaron Ennis is as follows. Ennis makes the same mistakes we just watched Broner make, with the wide, flat-footed stance, also squaring up his footwork at times and putting himself in no man's land due to being unable to retreat laterally or at an angle. He basically forces himself to have no choice but to retreat backwards in a straight line. Ennis, just like Broner, Also gets irresponsible on the way in or in the pocket with his hand placement, as well as squaring up inside at times, and eats too many big shots because of this. Alright, so now with Jaron Ennis, let's take a look at the same wide, flat-footed stance along with the squaring up of his footwork and how it gets him in trouble. Alright, so now we'll take a look at Jaron Ennis, the mistakes he makes on the way in with low hands, not bringing his hands back after throwing shots, squaring up, and we'll see the shots he eats because of it. Alright, so there it is, man. That's the film breakdown. Adrien Broner, Jaron Ennis. Quick comparison. And the thing is, I'm not one of these channels that just spouting out words and cliches trying to sound good. We actually know what we're talking about over here. And anything we say gonna be backed up by receipts every single time. But and with that said, like I said, I'm not no hater or nothing like that. I just, hope the young man improve. I don't want to see him fall, you know what I'm saying? If he want to do well, he need to improve because he going to face some harder competition once he move up in weight, man. This is what it is. Same was said about Adrien Broner before. He was the next Floyd Mayweather. He was this, he was that. He looked very normal at 40 and 47 because of the fundamental flaws that he carried up there with him. Jaron Ennis carries these same fundamental flaws with him. He gonna have some problems. Simple as that. But you got the proof. Now you can tell me now, am I out of line or am I on point? But with that said, Hey, put your comments, likes, concerns, down below. You know what to do. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go and get out the way. Y'all take it light.